Coming up today here on the Raiders Report, we're going to get into the latest news around Geno Smith because he is no longer going to be the Las Vegas Raiders quarterback. On top of that, let's talk about the top Raiders quarterback targets for 2026. I have them ranked the top 5 names because in my mind, I know most of us already think the number one guy is Fernando Mendoza. To me, though, based on maybe other head coaches, based on maybe certain coordinators that come in, we have to weigh all of our options. It's what good organizations do. If all you say is, no, I'm going to do exactly this and this only, that's insanity. You have to weigh your options. So coming up here on the program, I'm going to get into the Geno news, and then we're going to talk about the quarterback targets for the Las Vegas Raiders in the year of 2026. Before I get into that, though, huge shout-out to our sponsor on the program. It's Panda Sups. Make sure that you use code RaidersPanda for 25% off. That link is going to be available to y'all down in the comments, down in the description of today's show. I've been using Panda Sups products. I think a lot of people here that watch this program enjoy the protein that they have, whether it's maybe some pre-workout, you get a little protein into the mix. I'm telling you this right now, it's an absolute game changer. But how about this, y'all? I want you to hit that subscribe button. If you don't give a flying flip about Geno Smith, and if you don't care if he's on this team or not, because when I saw the news that Geno Smith unfollowed the Raiders on social media, wasn't really surprised. When I saw the news that Geno Smith wiped clear of everything that he had Raiders on his social media, again, I'm not surprised. The reason why it's frustrating, though, is because Geno Smith signed a contract for the Raiders, and I knew that he wanted out. Made an entire show that family members from Geno Smith told me that he wanted out. And I don't really get too shocked because of the fact that Pete Carroll ended up getting fired. If Pete Carroll got fired, you already knew that they were going to be moving on from Geno Smith. The writing has been on the wall here for a long time. Now, if you did not know that Geno Smith deleted all things from his social media, well, then I hope that that's one of the reasons why you hit that subscribe button. But, Geno, you gave us the bird, and I'm going to give you the bird right here. Can't wait for you to no longer be a member of this team. But since the Raiders now know that Geno's gone, like, by the fact that Geno did what he did, that should tell everybody on the planet Geno Smith is gone, and you have to move on from him by the 3rd day of the new league year, or else certain guarantees come to rolling in. So because this is a team that's had an issue finding out who that quarterback is going to be, I'm a believer because we didn't know who our QB was. That's why Ben Johnson didn't want the job. That's why Mike Vrabel did not want the job. And because, yes, we have the number 1 overall pick, but we have to be able to find who this quarterback is going to be. And today on this show, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be breaking down the top 5 quarterback options for the Las Vegas Raiders in the year of 2026. Because quarterbacks matter. Helps you attract a good head coach. But if you're a good head coach, you also need to have a plan at that quarterback position. So we got them ranked here from 5 going down to 1. Coming in here at number 5, I'm going to go with Green Bay Packers quarterback Malik Willis. The reason why Malik Willis ends up making my list here is because he's going to be a free agent. Now, I want to be very clear. The only way that I am interested in Malik Willis is if this new head coach comes in and he goes, well, you know what I'm going to end up doing? I'm going to trade the number 1 overall pick because I want to be able to use those picks to be able to build around a quarterback. He is the top free agent QB. Spotrac has his market value right now at $10.5 million. Because of the quarterback scarcity, because there's not a lot of good quarterbacks on the open market, with the news of John Harbaugh leaving, we'll talk about Lamar Jackson here in a little bit, but I think that makes this quarterback scarcity even more difficult. So there's going to be a team out there that's going to pay him some money. I've been talking to a lot of people. I think $25 million is how much Malik Willis is going to make per year. I think that's a little bit of an overpay for me personally, but if you're the Raiders and let's say you bring in a Robert Saleh. Robert Saleh's got a great connection with LaFleur. There's been some speculation if the Green Bay Packers lose, LaFleur could get kicked out and he could be looking for a brand new job. What if you're the Raiders and you go, well, let's bring LaFleur in from Green Bay, their head coach. What if we were able to bring his brother in, Mike LaFleur, the offensive coordinator for the Rams, say, hey, man, you can actually call plays over here. I know we're getting down here a little bit of a rabbit hole, but if you're the Raiders, you have to weigh out all options. You can't just say, we're going to draft Fernando Mendoza no matter what. That's a bad organizational move. I'm not saying it's dumb to draft Mendoza. I'm saying it's dumb to say, no matter what, we're going to do this. To me, that's like somebody looking at you and going, hey, can you put JPJ at center? And you go, absolutely not. Let's go to number 4 here on the list. It's going to be Jalen Milroe, quarterback from the Seattle Seahawks. And the reason why you got to talk about Milroe is because the Raiders have already requested to interview Seahawks offensive coordinator Clint Kubiak. Kubiak is my number 1 offensive-minded head coach that I am interested in. And to me, the only way you're going to go out and get Jalen Milroe is if your plan is to build a FU-style football team, kind of like the Philadelphia Eagles, where, yeah, you might be a little bit concerned about the throwing ability of Milroe, just like you're concerned about the throwing ability of Jalen Hurts, but you believe in Hurts the leader. You believe in Milroe the leader, coming from Alabama, coming from a good program there. But if you're able to build a super team around him, you got a quarterback that's running the 4-3 with a running back like Ashton Genty. I don't think that that's the craziest idea of all. But to me, the only way that you go out and you trade for Jalen Milroe is if you hire Clint Kubiak. And if Kubiak looks at us and goes, hey, I'm telling y'all this right now. I know that I was in Seattle. I know I was working with Sam Darnold. But I saw this kid up close and personal for an entire year. That's the guy that I want. I spoke to our Seahawks host here at Chat Sports, and he told me probably only going to be a 4th or a 5th round pick because they found their guy. And the offense that Seattle runs with Milroe compared to Darnold is a much different style of offense. If that makes you nervous about Kubiak, don't let it. Because the style of offense that Kubiak ran in New Orleans is much different than the offense that he runs. I shouldn't say much different. It's different than the offense that he runs in Seattle. If you believe in Kubiak, I believe in Jalen Milroe. But again, he's number 4 on my list for a reason. So here's going to be the pinned comment on today's program. Who are you hoping is the next Raiders quarterback? Who's the guy you want under center in 2026? If I had to guess, it's probably going to be the guy that's number 1 on my list here. But I still love to be able to weigh options. I still love to be able to talk through things. It's why I love doing the Raiders Report. So please let me know who you are hoping is the next Raiders quarterback, whether that is via the draft, whether that is via free agency, whether that is via a trade. Because there are so many different coaches out there, because there's so many different coordinators, you got to be able to sit back and weigh all your options. Right now, I'll say this. Last week I said I want either Mendoza or I want Lamar Jackson. In my heart of hearts, to me, I think that there are 3 options that I would really, really want. The problem is, one of those options I do not believe is really a possibility anymore. I think now you're really just looking at this saying, we can either go get Lamar Jackson or we're going to go this route. And I think that this route is the route that a lot of Raiders fans want to be able to go with here, because it's not that I don't like Malik Willis. Malik Willis, $25 million is like, this interests me here. Jalen Milroe interests me about here. These next 3 quarterbacks, my interest is up here. So because there's such a clear tier gap, this is where I want to go with the Raiders from that quarterback spot. Before I tell you my top 3 quarterbacks for the Las Vegas Raiders in 2026, you probably already know who they are. Today's show is presented by Panda Sups. Make sure that you use code RaidersPanda. I saw in the live chat somebody said Geno Smith. Ha! Ha! It's definitely not Geno Smith. But I don't even know if Geno Smith could use Panda Sups for an entire year and if he'd still be tough enough or have thick skin to be able to make it for the Raiders and make it with this organization. But whether you need protein, whether you need pre-workout, maybe you need some greens to be the best version of yourself. If you're somebody where you like to believe new year, new me, I really encourage you to go try out Panda Sups. And again, we've had these guys for a sponsor for, 6 years at this point. Everybody that I've ever talked to, whether it's the Weldinator freaking swears by the protein. And sometimes I feel like if I say something, people go, oh, well, that's your sponsor. Anybody I've ever talked to that's had Panda Subs, whether it's their seasonings that they have, maybe you're trying to spice up your food a little bit, though the sweet one that they have, the honey, cinnamon, it's out of this world. Maybe you need a little extra motivation to get into the gym. They got pre-workout, whether it's Panta, whether it's the Pando. Sometimes for me, it's just about getting my shoes on and getting my gym clothes on. If I do that, I can get my ass in the gym. Maybe it's the Fuel Premium Protein. I know that they're not a sponsor, Ninja Creamy, but Panda Subs Protein was literally made for a Ninja Creamy. Reminder, use code RaidersPanda for 25% off. PandaSubs.com. If you spend over $199, we're going to give you free shipping and some free pre-workout. Let's go to number 3 here on my list. It's going to be Dante Moore, quarterback for Oregon. If I'm the Las Vegas Raiders, what I am doing is this. I am either A, taking Mendoza, taking Moore, or I'm going to trade back to number 2, and I would take Moore or Mendoza. Now, since Moore is my number 2 quarterback, then this is how I would view it. If the Raiders trade back to 2, then I would decide to take Dante Moore. I love the fact that he's a pure passer. I actually think that his upside is a lot higher than I originally thought when I first started watching his tape. I might even be able to make an argument. I think Dante Moore's upside is higher than Mendoza, but I do think that his floor isn't as safe as the Indiana quarterback. Mentally tough guy. Love what he's able to bring to the table. I don't know if he's going to come out this year. There is a lot of speculation that he's going to end up going back to college football. But the other reason why Dante Moore is my number 2 quarterback, and I know I've said this a lot to people that watch this show, but it is because of the players we have. I believe Fernando Mendoza, Ashton Jeanty, Brock Bowers, those players there, the way that we're going to build our offense, makes a lot more sense with a guy like Mendoza than it does a Dante Moore. Let's go to number 2 here on the list. It's going to be Lamar Jackson, and I am just somebody like, if you have the opportunity to go out and get a guy like Lamar, I know he's got a no-trade clause, but there was a lot of rumblings before I made this show that maybe the Ravens and Lamar, there's going to be some issues. I also said last week that I really thought that John Harbaugh was a sneaky candidate to potentially end up getting fired, and now he got fired. Lamar Jackson, if he does become available, you have to entertain the idea. You can backload the contract. It wouldn't be all that difficult for the Raiders to do, and I would tie him to Max Crosby, give him a 3-year extension to backload again, because $74.5 million is a lot of money. Here's the thing, though. If you were to go out and you trade for Lamar Jackson, that means you trade the number 1 overall pick. You trade the number 1 overall pick, you get more picks on top of it. 2-time NFL MVPs and a QB that makes you an instant playoff contender, a top 5 player in the NFL. They just don't come available all that often. And then you got Lamar, you got Jeanty, you got Bowers. I really think that that offense could be really, really, really elite. But I want to be very clear here. Because the Ravens decided to fire Harbaugh, that tells me that they picked Lamar Jackson over Harbaugh. So I really don't think Lamar Jackson is going to be a candidate. But in a perfect world, if I could pick any quarterback that I'd want, Malik Willis is 5, Jalen Milroe is 4, Dante Moore is 3, Lamar Jackson is 2, Fernando Mendoza is number 1. And I am just starting to really sit back and think about the entire picture. If you have an opportunity to go get a franchise quarterback, go get your franchise quarterback. Because you could be like the New York Jets that have all the picks in the world but don't really have that ability to go get your quarterback. I get that it might be a weaker Heisman Trophy year. But to me, when you talk about a franchise quarterback, it's not only the intangibles of having the ice in his veins, being elite against pressure, fits what the Raiders have with Jeanty and Bowers, got that accuracy, can make the throws on all levels. A franchise quarterback's job is to make everybody else around him better, to build a program. And you've heard Spytek and Brady kind of say that a few times, like that they want to be able to build the Raiders. I mean, literally look at what Mendoza was able to do with Cignetti at Indiana. And anybody that wants Cignetti, stop asking me about it. They just gave him an 8-year extension. It's never going to happen. Doesn't make sense for Cignetti. Doesn't make sense for the Raiders. But the number 1 Raiders quarterback target, I think it has to be Mendoza. And I know that we got a lot of holes that need to be filled, giggity. And I know that we got needs on both sides of the football. But if you find your franchise quarterback, it's worth it. Because you could have players like Ashton Jeanty. You could have players like Brock Bowers. You could have players like Max Crosby. But here's the thing. You can have 3 players that we all know are outstanding. But if you don't have that franchise quarterback, it really doesn't matter. And we've had good young talent. But yet we've been the worst team in the NFL the last 2 seasons. We need a franchise guy. We can't keep on rolling out shitty leaders like Geno Smith, shitty talent like Gardner Minshew, and we can't keep on just going with retreads like Jimmy Garoppolo. We haven't taken a quarterback in round 1 since Jamarcus Russell. There is nothing similar about Jamarcus Russell and Fernando Mendoza. And if you're just going to say, oh, well, we failed because we took the number 1 pick before, stop it. Get out of your head. Fernando Mendoza, I think, could be the best thing that's happened to the Raiders since probably Derek Carr. And if you're telling me I can get somebody that could potentially be who knows, an MVP, I'm going to sign up and I'm going to take that because I do think Fernando Mendoza has that it factor. Now, if you want to be able to watch the show with me, I'm going to be live, Indiana, Oregon. Dante Moore, Fernando Mendoza. If you're a Raiders fan, I actually think it's really important for you to watch this game to get your evaluation. Not because, depending on who plays better in this game, is the guy you go with. No. But because if your quarterbacks play well in this game, the number 1 pick skyrockets even more. And the higher and higher that number 1 pick is worth, well then, you can start to wonder, do I trade it back for a Jalen Milroe? Do I trade it back so I can go get a Malik Willis? Because if I can get 4 first-round picks, I don't know about you, man. I think you got to entertain it.